I have lived alone since my wife died 2 years ago. It's just me and my work now. I carve idols for the temples nearby, gods and goddesses of stone. The house I live in is old, a crumbling relic that groans and creaks as if its very bones are weary of standing. It sits at the edge of a dense forest, far from the bustling streets. At night, the trees loom like silent sentinels, their branches scratching at my windows when the wind picks up. It was in this isolation that the haunting began, subtle at first, almost easy to ignore. Almost. It started with a sensation, sharp and inexplicable, like pinpricks on my skin as I slept. The feeling was like being bitten. Sudden stings that startled me awake, though I would find no marks when I checked. No bites, no welts, just the lingering memory of pain. I scoured the house, tearing apart my bed, searching for mosquitoes, bedbugs, anything that could explain the torment. But the place was immaculate, as it always had been. I convinced myself it was my mind playing tricks, the restless imagination of a lonely man. But the pinpricks continued. Night after night, I'd wake with a start, heart racing, my skin crawling as if something unseen had just pulled away from me. I began to dread the dark, to feel a presence hovering at the edge of consciousness, watching, waiting. Then the objects started moving, as if guided by invisible hands. My chisels and hammers, once carefully arranged, would be scattered across the floor when I returned to the workshop. Chairs would be pulled out from the table, slightly askew, as if someone had been sitting and then stood up the moment I entered the room. I told myself it was paranoia, that perhaps I had knocked something over in my distraction, misplaced a tool in my fatigue. But doubt crept in. One evening, as I worked late into the night, the silence of the house was shattered by a soft, rhythmic tapping, fingers drumming on the kitchen counter. I froze, listening. The sound which was too deliberate to be ignored. It was faint at first, almost playful. But when I walked to the kitchen, there was no one there. The second I returned to my workstation, it started again, louder this time, more insistent. I rushed back, my pulse hammering in my ears. Again, nothing. I stood in the dark. The only sound, my own breathing, shallow and uneven. After that day, things escalated. The tapping turned to footsteps, soft at first, then louder, more brazen. At night, I would hear them pacing, moving from room to room. Doors I had shut would be wide open in the morning. Tools would vanish only to reappear in bizarre places. A hammer balanced precariously on the edge of the sink, a chisel embedded deep into the wall as if thrown with violent force. It was as though the house itself was mocking me, testing how much I could bear. The nights became unbearable. One night, I woke to the sound of my bedroom door creaking open, agonizingly slowly. The darkness beyond the door was thick, almost pulsating, as though something was alive within it, just waiting to cross the threshold. I lay still, my body rigid with fear, watching the door sway ever so gently. Then came a faint dragging sound from the shadows, the noise of something too heavy, too unnatural, moving just out of sight. The presence in the house grew bolder, more violent. Objects no longer just moved. They flew across the room. I saw it with my own eyes one night. My statue of Shiva, a masterpiece I had spent months crafting, was hurled across the room by an unseen force. It hit the wall with such violence that the house itself seemed to tremble in response. The itching grew worse. What had once been sensations of pinpricks became an unbearable burning feeling that assailed me even when I left the house. I scratched at my skin until it bled, desperate to rid myself of the phantom bites. But it wasn't just the stings anymore. It was the knowledge that something was watching, something unseen, something waiting for the right moment. That moment came one night, the night I can never forget. I had just returned from a late dinner, trying to stay away from the house as long as possible. But as soon as I stepped inside, I knew something was wrong. The air was suffocating, thick with an unnatural chill. My latest sculpture, an idol of Durga, lay shattered on the floor, broken into pieces as though someone had smashed it in a fit of rage. My tools were scattered across the room, thrown with such force that the handles had splintered. And in the corner, half hidden in shadow, I saw it. A figure, twisted and grotesque, barely human. Its limbs were impossibly short and thick, but its fingers were disproportionately long, sharp and crooked. It was hunched, as though too tall to fit in the room. It was the face that froze me in place, a mouth full of needle-like teeth, glistening and wet, waiting to tear into flesh. The teeth. I knew then that they were the source of the invisible bites, the pinpricks that had plagued my sleep. The eyes were dark, endless pits that seemed to devour the light. As it stood up, I fled. I didn't stop to grab anything, didn't even look back as I ran out of the house and into the night. I never returned. I couldn't. Whatever had claimed that house could have it.